Well, hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. My name is Dina. I am the founder of Pain to Possibilities and the Change Pain Academy, and I am the host of the Willow Tree Chronic Pain and Trauma Summit. Today, I am very excited to introduce you to our guest, Katy Parker. Katy is a trauma-informed well-being writer who integrates mental health and faith into her words. She is a mental health advocate and mentor who lives in England and shares her journey of overcoming trauma on her Journey of Smiley blog. Katy is not shy in addressing controversial subjects or issues that deserve more attention. She is also the founder of the PTSD My Story Project, a safe space for trauma survivors to share their stories and inspire others, whilst also helping to fight the stigma surrounding mental health. I love it. Her goal is to encourage and empower trauma survivors and support them on their healing journey. Katy believes that healing shouldn't be a luxury and that everyone deserves a chance to heal. That's why she created a free ebook, 7 Keys to Self-Healing, a Trauma Survivor's Guide. Sign up for her newsletter and get the keys to your healing. We're definitely going to address your ebook because I think that sounds really exciting towards the end. Katy, our topic for today is writing as a healing tool for chronic pain and for trauma. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, this
Thank
is
you so
great.
much.
I'm excited. We have been exploring many different topics. You are my last interview of the summit, and I'm really excited to dive in because I think this is an amazing tool, and I know you are mentoring lots of people with writing. So let's get into it. So, as I'm asking everybody else, all our other presenters, I think it's important for our listeners to know a little bit more about you and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so thank you so much again for having me here. Uh, yeah, I just kind of want to clarify. I live in England,
Mhm.
but I come from Slovakia. I was born in Slovakia, and so writing kind of I've been I've been doing this since I was little, really, like when I was about 7 or so. I got a poem published in a children's magazine. Then I've been working as a journalist in a local newspaper, and so. But then I moved country. I moved to a different country, and from there again, and I live now in England with my lovely husband. And yeah, but as I moved countries, I stopped writing.
Mm,
I think sometimes we have this inner critic, or kind of just telling us that we
yes.
are not enough, and so.
Oh, yes.
And I was just thinking, okay, you know what? I moved countries, I learned different languages and so on. And I'm thinking, okay, I kind of almost like, not speaking the level
Mhm.
of the language of the country that I lived in, that I could write for others.
Yeah.
But as well, I kind of almost slowly kind of forgetting my native language, kind of,
Mm.
my mother language, kind of to the level where I was kind of confident in writing in it. So then I was thinking, yeah, I think it's this critic inside us just kind of always tells us, you're not good enough and nobody's going to read it. And so I just kind of stopped really writing, even for myself. I stopped doing it. And I know what I say, like, do I regret it? And no, I'm glad I'm back to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it actually, I had a really painful lesson to come back to this
Mhm.
because it was in 2020. Yeah, and what a year was it? I mean, we
Mhm.
all remember that year.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah. But just when in the 2020 I was going to the end, I was thinking, okay, what else could happen?
Mm.
No, it looked like for me it just started because I had a terrible accident. I was walking home from work. That's only about 10 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, from my house, and a van hit me as I
Oh,
was
my
crossing the road,
Mhm.
and I ended up in hospital with a fractured back. I was there during lockdown,
Mhm.
so no visitors, and so I was there for almost 2 weeks.
Right.
And I already had some trauma in my life,
Mhm.
and the trauma before I just kind of, what do we say, ignored, or just kind of thinking, okay, I'll just put it somewhere here because if
Yeah.
I put it there,
Yeah.
it never happened really. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't really work like this because something really happened to you again, and then you explore really,
Right.
So my head was so big, to be honest, that I started to get flashbacks. About a week after my accident, I started to get flashbacks.
Ah,
And I first was just thinking, like, I don't know what's going on with me. Like, am I getting crazy or what?
yeah.
Really. And the flashbacks really and all this opened the Pandora box, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everything slowly started to come out. And
Right.
it wasn't anymore the accident only. There
Mhm.
were other things as well.
Of course.
And I was thinking, okay, there's a lockdown. I'm here by myself. Like, I am getting crazy, really. But, I had a paper and a pen. And the
Ah,
first thing what, thanks God, really occurred to me was like, I need to empty my head.
yeah.
And that's what I did. I
Yes.
just put everything on paper.
Hmm.
So I returned really after the decades long break back to writing. The
Uh,
writing became my therapy really there in
right.
hospital. I was still in hospital and it became as a therapy for me.
Ah,
I just really wrote down all my feelings, everything.
mhm.
And then later on I came home and I looked at what I wrote and then I later on 2 months after or so I was diagnosed with PTSD as well.
Mhm.
And I researched so much about PTSD. I did some trainings and so about it. And then I was thinking, I have quite a lot written, to be honest.
Mhm.
What do I do about it? It's great you read it always and you learn new things. You learn things about yourself. You learn, observe your feelings and so through it. But then it's like, I was thinking, surely there must be somebody else going through the
Yes.
same things just like me.
Mhm.
And that's how Journey of Smiley was born.
Aw,
Because I was like, okay, I'm going to share it. And Smiley because I'm Smiley.
you're always
My
smiling. I
mom,
love it.
my mom, my mom used to call me sometimes Smiley.
Aw.
And so it was my nickname. So I was thinking, you know what? It's a journey of Smiley because it's really a journey of hope and healing. And
Mhm.
it's my journey as well.
Right.
And so that's what I was doing. And then later on, as I said, I researched so much about PTSD, but I learned so much about it, and I study kind of psychology as a part of my studies when I did university and so. But I don't know if I ever before. I mean, obviously, people don't go like, "Oh, I have a PTSD" and stuff. But
Mm.
I never really kind of was thinking, do I know anybody who has got PTSD? Is there
Yeah.
anybody I could ask, like, how do they manage day-to-day life, and how do you know? And I
Yeah.
was looking for read about this as well. And as they say, like if you cannot find things, you can do it yourself.
Right.
So I was just thinking, I cannot really find exactly things I want, or not many.
Mhm.
So I was thinking, what? As I read the response to my blog, and I had so many people saying to me, "Oh, me as well. I as well go through this. I as well go through this."
Yes.
I was thinking,
Yes.
okay, so there, I am not the only one.
Mhm.
You know, that's what writing as well was sharing. Later, when you share with people, enables you to kind of, I'm not the only one to
Absolutely. It's so
know that you're
powerful.
the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, oh, I just kind of started to ask people, would you be able to share your story? I'm thinking to create a project. Would you be able to share it? And so, would you
Yeah.
be willing to?
Right.
Because it's quite hard as well to write. And I know how hard it is when you write for yourself and when you actually
Mhm.
want to share, going with this vulnerability,
Yes.
really. So I know it's not easy. So I always kind of ask people first, would you be willing to? And I'm so grateful for all the warriors who actually say, yes, yeah, I'm happy to share my story because I see it might not be, easy, but it's so meaningful and so valuable.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm just grateful for this because that's how the PTSD, my story project was born. And yeah, since then it's going. Yeah, I'm just like, if anybody goes through anything hard and you're happy to share your story, share your story. And if you want to share it on Journey of Smiling blog, do so. I'm always here.
So yeah, and that's a great point because I really
Yeah.
feel that the chronic pain community, the trauma community just does not get a safe space to be able to tell their story.
Mm.
And that is, I believe, and you likely, it's based on your stories, feel the same way, that that's really a place to start, right? Is when you
Mm.
actually have that opportunity to say the words or write the words, which we'll get into, I think is just so powerful. So I love how things start to funnel us into this path, right?
Yeah.
So what sorts of things did you see for yourself when you started to allow that story to unfold on paper? What sort of things unfolded for you?
Yes, as I said, I emptied really my head, so my thoughts then, as well, I would say, you know, our feelings and so, and our feelings, kind of there is, we links our feelings,
Mhm.
to the event through words actually. So
Okay.
that's what I kind of do. So I kind of really is the understanding, and I think many other people who, when I work with them, and so what actually we really can see through writing is that when we put our thoughts, our feelings on paper, we can really see the links between the feelings and the events we went through,
Wow.
and so this is, I think, very important. So I learn really, and I as well kind of I getting to think lots of us who do this, we kind of getting to know ourselves better as well.
Mhm, mhm.
You see, you observe the patterns
Yes.
because you can see in you write and you read what you wrote, and so
Yeah.
and you can see the patterns. But as well with the pain, it helps me enormously with the pain as well, because many times I get up in the middle of the night, pain just wakes me up, and as I'm awake, I just drop a few sentences, and so
Yeah.
and yeah, it just kind of gives me, when I read it later, I'll look at it because I often put in time, date, and so, and
Mhm.
then, and I can see, look, I got up this week, like, I don't know, 4 times I was awake at
Yeah.
1 o'clock or 1:30, pain woke me up. And so I'm just like, okay, could I do something about my sleeping, my sleeping patterns? Could I
Right.
do? And there is actually research that proves that writing improves our sleeping as well.
Yes. Yes.
So then you go like, could I do something about it? Could I help myself somehow? And so it really gives you kind of you're getting to know yourself better through this, yeah, the
Yeah.
behavior and the pain patterns and everything,
And the
and
emotion.
it just clear your and clear
Yeah.
your minds, and that's what it was so important then in hospital when I was. It just really cleared my mind because I was so full of those thoughts and the emotions, and you don't really know what's going on as well. You're
Right.
so afraid as well, overwhelmed really, and you
Yes.
just put it down, and it just really clear your minds.
Yeah.
So the stress level just goes,
Yes.
down. Yeah, like,
Oh, amazing. I
yeah.
think you're explaining the chronic pain experience and trauma experience so beautifully. There's so much science. I'm not going to talk about it, but I get excited about when you're talking about the benefits that you've seen and some of those you mentor have seen. There's a real science to it. The amount of ruminating thoughts, just as an example, ruminating thoughts is such a trap for us all, who live
Yeah.
with chronic pain or trauma, and it affects sleep. It affects, how we interact with others. So I would imagine just getting it out on paper, at least just for ruminating thoughts, is something quite powerful as well. And also, I just want to acknowledge too, just before I get on to the next question, just how, your story, how incredible, there were so many layers to it, and
Mm,
how writing helped you to work through some of those layers. So not only was your backstory the trauma, but also the accident and the trauma of that,
mm,
but also the isolation. I mean, chronic pain is isolating
I know.
enough as it is, right? And then being in the hospital during COVID, I think that's the fact that writing has helped you. And the best part is you did it on your own. There was no guiding, no
Mm,
guiding principles. You just let it happen, it sounds like.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So you are a writer, but and the reason I'm saying this is I think it's important for listeners to understand that you don't have to be a writer.
No,
No, right.
no, you don't.
Right. And
You
we'll get
you
into
don't
that.
have to call yourself writer or be a
Yeah.
professional writer. No, you don't.
Right. We'll get into some of the nuances of how to do it. But I think it's important for people to understand up front for sure. Okay. So in this summit, we really have been exploring sort of the both sides of chronic pain and trauma, which is emotional and physical, because they are always connected. And part of the reason we're doing that is because I think it's important for people to understand. So if I could just read a quick study result, you've already touched on
Mhm.
this, how the benefits of writing. I'll read this one. According to a 2019 study, a 6-week writing intervention increases resilience and decreases depressive symptoms, perceived stress, and rumination among those reporting trauma in the past year. 35% of the participants who began the program with indicators of likely clinical depression ended the program no longer meeting this criterion. So what sorts of changes are you seeing in the people that you're mentoring?
Yeah, and in myself as well,
And
I must
yourself.
say.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I do write many times, even though I now share it with others, but I still have my own doing journaling and all these things just for myself, really, for my healing. Yeah. So, as I say, yeah, and getting to know yourself better, I think that's one of the things really. And yeah, as you said about the stress and so it just calms you down a bit, really, and clear your mind, really, so, you're just learning the patterns. Yeah, kind of everything I think what I already kind of
Yeah, you covered it
touched
off well,
anyway.
for sure.
But yeah, I mean, there really is one of the things what perhaps I actually want to add is as well, um, about the trauma and the stress and depression you said. So obviously, and I was diagnosed with PTSD myself,
Yeah.
and I do write a lot about PTSD on my blog. And PTSD is a brain injury.
Hmm.
Where the trauma kind of change your brain. There's a research actually about it, and trauma can change your brain.
For sure.
And what I want to say, there's as well another research when we come to writing that suggests actually change kind of when we translate our traumatic experience into on a paper, into
Mhm.
words, really, that this can really be the helpful kind of aid for the rehabilitation of the brain injuries. And
Right.
so,
Right.
this is actually kind of really, I think, because yeah, a trauma can really change your brain a lot over it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
know about this. And this can just like really the virus kind of back to a bit more normal because it makes it, yeah, it just, you write down, you put the thoughts on a paper down and so, and it's just so much more, you make sense of the world, really, I would say. You make sense of yourself, you make sense of the trauma what happened to you, you can
Mhm.
make sense of the pain you're going through. So it's just really so much about, I think, yeah, it just really makes so much more sense for you afterwards.
Yeah.
That's what I see for myself as well and for others as well.
Right.
Going through it is so yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. And I know we talked a little bit about this before we press the record button, and I think it's an important point. Uh, what I'm sensing writing is really helpful for is, and you can elaborate on this one, is kind of taking a bird's eye view. So if we were a bird on a branch looking down at ourselves, and our lived experience, our stories, how important is that perspective, sort of the writer's perspective in helping our listeners write through their trauma, write through their pain?
Yeah, so I see the perspective. Yeah, because I'd say writing provides you with the opportunity to gain a different perspective. Uh, so you have lots of techniques, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this a little bit more after how to do it and so. But you can write. I don't know. You can write poems if you go to into those things. You can write fiction. You can write non-fiction. You can write whatever you want. But there is as well proof that, for example, fiction. My friends who do fiction writing or kind of who go. Like I said, you don't have to be the writer, but the
Yes.
people who go like, okay, I write fiction for my own healing and so, uh, you know, they really what I learn, for example, is that because they unload really their struggles on the character in the story, they
Mhm.
can really see this provides them with the opportunity to gain a different perspective and as well understanding of other people's motives, emotions, and feelings. So it's not only your own actually, but other people as well. I mean, you can do so with other things like I'm sure with poem, for example, through metaphors as well, symbolism, and all these things. So
Yeah.
it really gives you actually the yeah, you gain a different perspectives, to be
Yeah.
honest, of yourself as well, but of others as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say writing really helps you, especially
Yeah.
because you reread what you write and you reread.
And
But I
you
just want to
yeah.
say, you don't reread and you don't edit or you
Okay.
don't whatever,
Ah,
you leave
right.
it there because this is very important because
Yeah.
you wrote it there and your feelings and emotion were so raw You
Yeah.
put it there. So you're
Yeah.
not going and you like scribble. No,
Yes.
just don't do it because you want to learn something. You know what we were talking earlier about learning, and so you learn so much about yourself and about others, and so
Yeah.
you really want to learn through it something. So yes, obviously then when you want to when you say like okay I want to share with others, then this is different because you can work on it, you can edit your story and so, but keep
Right.
always for keep
Okay.
always writing you down for yourself. Keep it always in that form for yourself.
Oh, good point. Okay. This is a perfect segue. We're going to get into the details of
Yeah.
how to actually do it, and that's perfect. So just for
Mm,
clarification, you're saying don't edit, just let it happen. Let it flow. Don't worry about perfectionism. This is really
mm.
just for nobody else, for you in this moment to write it down. Okay, so to get into a little bit more of the details, before someone starts to write, is there anything they need to do to sort of prepare themselves emotionally in the space around them? What do they need to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because, and I would say that's important before and after as well.
Okay.
Just want to say this. But yes, yeah, that's a good question because self-care is
Mhm.
so important. You know, you as well, you as somebody who went through really something traumatic,
Mhm.
you know, so just feel your feelings
Mhm.
because you cannot heal without feeling your feelings anyway. So just feel your feelings really. So
Mhm.
and be mindful that you know you are writing, you're putting it on paper. You might want to do some preparation before a bit of self-care things. So what I would do, what I do as well, and I tell others, kind of you know when I mentor others, and so when I write about it, I recommend others to do it as well. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath,
Mhm.
and I do the box breathing.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
what I do as well. And I as well have a video where you can look at as well about it. We don't have a time to kind of touch
Yes,
everything,
right,
but
right.
yeah, you can find lots of things on my blog as well. But yeah, I do, for example, I do box breathing because this really helps me, you know, with this. This is just close my eyes, do box breathing, and I just want to be really present. So, you know, minimize distractions, you know, whatever. If you write on phone, great, have fun, but don't have open another,
All
you know,
right.
whatever things, yeah, and apps
Yes.
and so on.
Yeah.
No, just be kind of really there, you know. So you're going to write, you're going to heal yourself through writing. So you need to be true to your feelings. You need to be just be authentic. I so encourage authenticity always when I can. Really, just be authentic. You know, nobody is going to read it. That's another thing, but I'll get to this. It's just for you. This
Right.
is really just for you, and this is so important, really, just to do you. Write your raw emotions really there.
Yeah.
So feel what you're feeling, really, write those things down.
Yeah.
And then, you know, give yourself permission as well to slow down. You know, is it too much for you or is it becoming overwhelming or so? Just leave it. You know,
Yeah.
give yourself permission to leave, do
Yeah.
something else, whatever. You can still get back to this. You just need to work this, process those tones as well, you know. And
Mhm.
then you go back to this and, you know, you can still finish them. But then it's as well important that because it's overwhelming
Yeah.
and it can be
Yeah.
um, that you do as well afterwards. You know, I like to do just give myself a hug, just really
Ah,
hug myself just after, you know,
yeah.
just say it's not your fault, whatever you feel, whatever you know, it's not your fault, really,
Mhm.
whatever happened to you. And so, and do something nice for yourself, you know, go outside for a walk, smell the flowers, whatever, yeah, yeah, really do something nice for yourself.
Right.
And as well, you know, that there's like as we I a little bit talk about the different techniques. So some people, for example, like to do morning writing. It calls morning pages. They like to do in the morning. Some people
Okay.
do gratitude journal or so, and they like to do it in the evening. So find when is really the best for you, when it you know when it works for you. It's
Mm.
really about finding those things that really work for you because we are all different, and
Yes.
we all have a different what I like to do, and you might like something else, and
Yes.
so yeah, just kind of really find what works for you and
Mhm.
do this. But yeah, because you write for yourself, find some place you will be comfortable with. I have a little corner, actually my corner where I normally write, and so I read there as well and I write there as well. I really like to be there when I do something creative, and so yeah, have your place, find a time when it's the best for you, and so and really important when you write for yourself, and this is just for yourself. Make sure that either you have either you write it on computer or on phone, or you have a notebook or so, just label it. If it's a notebook, label it, right? This is my property, please don't read it or whatever, in case somebody else finds it. So this is private. And same with the computer or phone, have it protected, password. And so this is really just for you. They're your tools. It's your thing. Nobody else should really read it. So it's really important that you have it and people know it, because otherwise the other thing is you do have to shred it then or delete it, and you don't really want to do this. So it really is just for you. It's different between when I then say, okay, people, like, would you like to share your story? And so this is different because you can decide how much you want to share, and so you can you can go over this and like, oh, okay, good, then I'm going to rewrite this and I'm going to edit some bits, and so, but you always have for yourself these things which you like. No, don't edit, as I said, just read for learning and for understanding your emotion, for understanding other people behavior, for understanding your pain, and so read for this. And I think and be authentic, as I said it already so many times. Just be authentic. This is so important. Do really what works for you best.
Yeah, because I would imagine there'll be some people who would do really well with reading what they've written, and there'll be others who just need to step away from it and, like you said, shred it, and at least they've gotten it out.
Yeah.
So
no, when somebody else, when you find that somebody else read your things, just shred it, really. But the thing what you just mentioned actually is it calls unsent letters, for example. You can do this way, talking a little bit about the techniques. So, and few people I know as well, they do practice unsent letters. So they write letters, and this is very good when you, for example, when you have things kind of unsolved issues with somebody else, because sometimes it's better, or you might feel actually it works better for you. On the paper, you can, as I said, put your raw emotions, so you can write whatever you want on the paper. Yeah, this is good for forgiveness, for example, when we kind of, when it's easier to write things than to say things. So you can write on the paper and write it down, and read through what you wrote. If you don't want to, like you said, you don't have to, but read through, because you're writing for healing. So read through what you did, and then you never send this. This is an unsent letter. But some people do. Some people burn it.
Yes.
They have like some small ritual, really.
Yeah, a little ceremony.
It's just kind of, have your own small ceremony. And so this just really helps you to let go.
Yes.
And it sets you free. Just really, you can just like let it go and let it go, and I set myself free with this, So that's something you can do. Like, write an unsent letter. This helps quite a lot as well, people.
I'm loving this. If I'm getting a little emotional because I do have my own experience too with all of this. I feel the need to share, but my daughter, at the age of 17, had a traumatic event and wasn't able to protect herself. And so she is a writer, and she writes scripts for movies. So in creating a script for a movie, she created a fictional story, but based on true events. And a part of the process, she got through the writing part, and then she asked me to write my take on it, because, the two of us were kind of in it together. And I cannot tell you just how much I needed to get that out on paper. I never gave myself that opportunity. And once that came out, the tears just came out, and I needed that so badly in that moment. It was just incredible. And to read back was a little challenging, but and then not to read hers was also challenging, but at the same time, she's presenting it to the world. And so I'm like, of course I'm going to read it. But you're right. This is resonating with me so completely. So I thank you for the work you do. Sorry, I just had to share that.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've learned, just to kind of make sure I'm kind of pulling in some key points here, and you can clarify if we need to. But, first of all, first and foremost, get it out on paper, whether it be poetry, whether it be a written story, whether it be fictional, whether it be a superhero story, it doesn't matter. Whether it's third person, first person, doesn't matter. Get it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, as far as, you mentioned sort of timing, sometimes it works better in the morning, sometimes evening. Do you recommend writing just when you feel the need, or do you feel like there's a process you need to sort of do this sort of day in, day out? What?
Yeah, it kind of really depends because when you write journaling, for example, then you will do it, you will do it more often. And so yeah. And so I would say do write it more often because as well, then you can see better the patterns, for example. You can see more things actually. And you're doing it for healing. So shouldn't be just like happens once a week or so, my healing or so. So really, I would say do make sure that you don't have to write every day or so, but then write every other or so. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to now sit at a computer and write it for hours and stuff.
Right.
Really, like it's even, even because after my accident and so I couldn't spend hours at a computer or so. Really is, you know, if you have 10 minutes,
Yes.
that's enough. That's enough, to be honest. Just, write for 10 minutes, whatever. Just write it down, really. And, there as well, talking about like how to do it. And so, for example, with journaling, the difference between journaling and, I don't know, keeping a diary or so, is because journaling is a bit more structured. So, yeah, you can have prompts. And so you have prompts actually with you writing, and little exercises or something, or you can have as well mental health professionals so who actually goes with you, guides you through the things, and so it's a little bit different to just keeping a diary, and so and you can see then as well, as I said, you can see the patterns, and you can work a little bit more your emotions through, and so if you do it more often, so I would definitely recommend. Yeah,
and I think you're a great example too, because in the very short time that I've known you, it sounds like, with PTSD, there's different forms of trauma. There's sort of complex, and then there's sort of the single event. But it sounds like writing could be impactful for both. Do you find that if it is complex, does that mean there's a little more time and patience, perhaps, to feel that release?
I would say, well, obviously we are all different as well.
True.
And so I would say it's really quite hard to say. I think we are all different, and so we're dealing with different things, and so. But then, just I would say just see for yourself. You would know how much progress you made, and that's why it's good to, for example, date it. Put a date and so, because as you're reading through, and so you see how much progress you did. You know if this is enough for you or if you want to continue as well. So really, just do really what works for you, I would say, or really, best. So it is something sharing is there for you. If you want to, you can do it all your life. I know people who, I know, old and then they still do journaling, for example, or they do morning pages every morning, just because this is helping them, because it's still helping them. They might work out through one event or so, but it's helping them with different things as well. So yeah, it really is as well, I think, about your objectives as well. Do you just want to heal from specific things, or is it something you might want to maybe start as, okay, I need to heal from this and this, whatever, and then you go like, actually, this, as we talk about the perspective as well, this helps me to see different perspectives of how I do during the day, and so I like, if I start, I'm just happy to keep going, and so yeah, definitely, I think it's about up to people really to decide, I would say, but definitely it's for your healing, so do as long as you, and then healing, and so what is it really healing? Like I said, I wrote my guide, and I would say I've read it, or is it not really a journey? So really, just do whatever works for you. I would say. Just don't stop.
Don't stop. Exactly.
Writing.
And I love the fact
just
that
once you start writing, just write.
Just keep writing, right? And I think we can make a T-shirt out of that saying "just keep writing."
Yeah.
I love that there's no real set rules, right? I think we can get really hung up on the fact that, well, I'm not doing this right, or maybe I'm not doing it the right time of day. You do need to explore, like you said, and just allow it to happen.
Yeah,
without
yeah.
overthinking.
Um, the inner critic always will be there. It
Yes.
always will be there. But
Yeah.
you just need to volume
Mhm.
down so you
Mhm.
can hear your feelings and your thoughts a bit more than the inner critic. So put it down and just, I'm not saying like, oh, totally ignore it or whatever.
Yeah.
Just volume down and
Right.
so you can actually hear your you know your really inner voice, your best friend, to be honest. Yeah, so
Yeah.
your feelings, your thoughts,
Mm.
are more than this. So yeah, just
Wow.
write.
Well, I think the other thing that sounds really powerful about writing is, as a part of the healing or recovery process, is just that awareness. And I think that's, maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm getting the sense that writing could be a really great sort of bridge between, I'm really not in touch with my emotions or what I'm feeling in the moment because there's just so much overwhelm in my head, to, wow, I actually wrote down and connected my emotions to the experience and what I'm feeling right now. Like, I feel like that's a really important gap filler, so to speak, just the act of
Yes,
writing. Yeah.
because it's really you're kind of translating, into words, really, your feelings here. Yeah, so you translate it really into words. So yeah.
Oh, Katy, this is so amazing. Really,
Yeah.
but we're starting to wind down. I just want to be mindful of your time, but we've
Yeah.
talked a lot about how to do it. Is there anything in your professional or personal experience that you feel is important to address before we end our chat today?
Yeah, I mean, I said be authentic. We talk about it. We said just, start writing and keep writing. When you read it for yourself, for observing your thoughts, instead of for just, I need to delete this or I need to whatever edit this. No, just really keep on. Um, and really just, I would say, do it, try because you don't know if like people go like, oh yeah, but is writing going to help me? Or say, no, you don't know if you don't try.
It's true.
You don't know if you don't try, really. So just try, really. And we were talking about emotions, and so just let the emotion pass. Like, I would be before like really thinking like, oh, I'm so conscious about emotions, what if I'm going to cry or whatever. Well,
Mm,
and what,
yeah.
you know this is a part of healing.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. I've
so
lost.
and what if you cry or whatever, this is how you heal. You need to feel in order to heal. So this
Yeah.
is really a part of a healing process. This
Yeah.
is not something to be perfect and I don't know. This is really for you to be healing. Healing never is beautiful. This
Messy.
is
Right.
not something we imagine, oh, this is beautiful, whatever. Oh, it is not. It is really painful many times.
Yeah.
It's really not beautiful and so, but
Yeah.
it's so worthy to why
Yes.
you would not try something to find out if perhaps this is going to help you,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say, yeah,
Amazing. Before I let you go, because we will talk about your freebie, but you just touched on
yeah,
something that I think is really important, is authenticity. I was talking to one of our other presenters about authenticity, and I think it's an important, really important part of the experience, because it's really easy to lose that authenticity when you live either with shame or trauma, the shame of trauma, life with chronic pain, the deep emotions that come along with it. And so writing seems to be a really good, healthy opportunity, a healthy space to be able to tap back into that authenticity. And it might not feel like you are up front, but if you just keep going, hopefully that's just going to, it will come forward.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, because you do have to open up,
Mm,
it's almost like imagine kind of the cocoon, like,
mm,
and then the butterfly comes out, and you just kind of like trying to open. So really, it's something you do have to open, and then like in a real world, I just wrote actually something about vulnerability. I like writing about it, and I said, in a real world, you kind of have to decide, yeah. Like I encourage vulnerability and so,
yeah.
but you have to decide who you can be vulnerable with, and so
Yes.
but
Yeah.
this is something you do for yourself, you imagine.
Yes.
So be your own best friend, really,
Right.
and
Oh,
just do it for yourself and
I love
just
that.
put it down and the raw emotions, the raw feelings on paper, and yeah, if you need any help or so, I'm always there.
Yeah.
So,
Lovely. Okay. No, that's
I'm
amazing.
always there. So yeah, and I write lots about, you find lots of material. Yeah, lots of materials actually about writing and about trauma and so on my blog. So yeah,
Yes.
if anybody needs a help and so
So
yeah.
what is your blog? Remind our listeners.
Journey of Smiley. Yeah,
Journey of
the smiley
Smiley.
one. Journey of
Yes.
Smiley. Yes, yes. See, I'm always smiley, but you never know what to hide behind. But
That's true.
my notes, they know it. And that's the beauty of it. It's,
Right.
you really can be just yourself. Be
Yeah.
just yourself.
I
And it
love
can
it.
encourage you then being yourself,
Yeah.
actually, not just actually when you write, but being yourself as well in front of other people. And so
Sure.
so it really can encourage you just being yourself writing
Yeah.
as well, because you start write yourself, but then you can, just expand it. Then
Yeah.
the comfort zone kind of just expanded.
Yeah.
So
It's your
yeah,
safe space to explore and practice that, isn't it? I think
yeah.
that sounds like a beautiful, beautiful piece of advice. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your freebie that you're offering to our listeners?
Yes, yeah. So I have a freebie actually here,
Mhm,
as you can see.
mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the 7 keys to self-healing, a trauma survivor's guide. Yes. So I wrote, as I said, I did lots of studying about PTSD and trauma, and so there is like my knowledge is there, but then as well because I work with other people and PTSD, my story project, and so that is kind of like what I learn from them as well,
Mhm.
but as well what I learn from health professionals. And
Right.
so there's as well kind of a really mix of everything I learn
Great.
through the years. I put it all there. And what I'm actually to because as well talking about prompts and journaling and
Yes.
so in this you find 7 keys to healing. But I'm actually, if you download it, you will as well get prompts to go with all the 7 keys.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it helps you, yeah, because we
Yeah.
didn't kind of go a little bit more into like what do I really write on the paper, like about
Right.
feelings and so, but you find it all on my blog as well.
Yeah.
But if
Okay,
you
perfect.
download it, you
Yeah.
actually can really I'll get, yeah,
At least
I'll
gets you
get
started,
you,
right? That's
I'll
a
send
really
you the prompts as
okay.
well.
Perfect.
And then yes, so this helps you kind of to start. And so yeah, so if you download my freebie, you will get my prompts as well, and they go with the 7 keys. And so
Amazing.
it's really,
And then when they do write it, send it to Katy so she can
yeah.
see. Send it to Tina so
Yeah,
she
you don't
can
have to send your own thoughts,
only.
but
No, no, not your own notes.
edit
If
what you, yeah, write it
exactly,
again,
if you
edit
feel
what
like
you like,
yes,
and then share your story, because you
right.
provide, it is so much encouragement to others, and that everybody knows that they are, other knows that they are not alone. And yes, yeah. I mean, anybody who wants to share their story and be part of the PD's My Story project, I'm always grateful. So yeah, write
Amazing.
it. And you find me on the Journey of Smiling,
Yeah.
and you can email it to smiley@journeyofsmiley.com.
Perfect.
So
I
yeah,
will put all of that in the show notes so people have
yeah,
access to all the links and how to reach you and
yeah.
all of that stuff. So thank you, Katy, so much for your
Okay.
time today, for your input. It's always an important voice to bring to the table. It's just how to express ourselves, how to write,
Yeah.
how to feel, right? So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you for watching, everybody.